The best way to predict your future is to create it, not from the known, but from the unknown. What thoughts do you want to fire and wire in your brain? What behaviors do you want to demonstrate in one day? Mijn selbe and Seach. Be active rehearsing them mentally, closing your eyes and rehearsing the action. Whatever impact or success or reaching goals or growth you seek. On one level, in the physical world, it's about how well you harness your physiological and psychological processes. Knowledge is power, but knowledge about yourself is self-empowerment. If you're a little sensitive to life, you will realize you are the biggest issue in your life. This is one thing that I am trying to do with people. You are never the issue in your life, and not the issue. My thoughts, my emotions, my body are never the issue. My thoughts, my emotions, my energy, and my body are my instruments of function. They are not impediments in my life. But I would say for 90% of human beings, their own body, the compulsions of the body, the compulsions of their thought, and the compulsions of their emotions are ruling them most of the time. So when you yourself are a problem, well, you're on self-help. Whether your body and mind work against you or for you, this is a big difference. There is enough evidence to show that only when you're in pleasant levels of experience does this happen best. So, obviously, joy comes first, then growth. If you are joyful constantly and have no fear of suffering because you understand all human experience comes from within you, and you have managed to create the kind of experience that you want, then growth is possible. If you have the fear of falling down and suffering, you will not go very high. This one fundamental thing has to get across to all human beings on this planet. Your experience is entirely determined by you. This is what the word karma means. Unfortunately, it's become something else. Karma means action. When we say your life is your karma, we are saying your life is entirely your making, 100%. What happens in the world involves many forces, but what happens within me is 100% mine. If you don't take charge of this, then you're an accident in life. When you're an accident in life, anxiety is very natural. The moment you start feeling abundant and worthy, you are generating wealth. The moment you're empowered and feel it, you're beginning to step towards your success. The moment you start feeling whole, your healing begins. When you love yourself and love all of life, you'll create an equal, and now you're causing effect. We're not here as human beings having a spiritual experience. It's the other way around. We are all infinite spiritual beings having a temporary human experience and coming to a place where we live our lives from that infinite place and begin to know our soul. As we sit here, this is my body, that's your body. This is my mind, that's your mind. There's no such thing as this is my life, and that's your life. This is a living cosmos. Everybody is free to capture as much as they want. If you capture a substantial amount of life, your very presence will become a significant life. Otherwise, you will become a mediocre life. This is the important thing. It's not the knowledge you gather in your head. It's not the muscle you gather in your body. It's the life. Using another analogy, let's say we're dreaming that we're being attacked by a tiger. In that condition, we're really afraid, perspiring, and we may even be rolling and screaming in our bed. Now, is that dream real or illusion? The reality is we are having that dream. The illusion is that we're identifying with it, thinking that the tiger is about to eat us. But in actuality, the dream is real. We're real. When we misidentify with that dream, thinking that's happening to us now, that's the illusion. That's the idea of yoga or true spirituality. To actually learn to live in harmony with one's own self. We have this physical body, we have the mind and all of the thoughts and emotions that come through the mind. But who are we? I am seeing through my eyes, hearing through my ears, touching through my flesh, tasting through my tongue, thinking through my brain, and loving through my heart. But who is that me? That me is the essential consciousness that's giving life to every other aspect of our existence, our body and our mind. Consciousness is you. It's unique, but it's part and parcel of what is universal. Unless we understand that uniqueness of our own true consciousness, then we can't really appreciate the universal nature and how we're all actually connected. Everything is connected, and everyone is connected. Everything and everyone in this world is interdependent. Emerson said that the reason why there are so many problems in this world is that human beings are disconnected from their own true self. The senses, the mind, the intelligence required to be in harmony with the heart and with the living force within the heart, which we call the soul or the spirit. When we understand the sacredness, the beauty, and the eternal nature of our own spirit, then we can recognize it in creation and in others. When we don't recognize or experience the sacredness of our own true self, then our perception is an illusion of the world. But when we understand who we are and our harmony and relationship with the world around us and the people around us, then we're actually seeing everything as truth. We're seeing it as a spiritual reality. Even in this world, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Albert Einstein once observed that the most fundamental and major decision you have to make in your life is this. Do I live in a friendly or a hostile universe? Is it a universe filled with hostility and anger, with people wanting to hate each other and kill each other? Is that what you see? Because when you see the world that way, that's exactly what you will create for yourself in your life. This is from a great scientific mind. And the interesting thing is that this is not just a clever play on words. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. It's actually a very scientific thing. And now I'm going to show you that in just a moment. I'd like you to imagine the following scene. You're in your house. You've got your car keys in your hand and the lights go out. Power failure. You can't see a thing. You stumble around in your living room and drop your keys. You look around for a moment and realize that you're never going to find them in the dark. But you look outside and notice that the streetlights are on. So, in your mind, a light bulb goes off. I'm not going to sit around here in the dark and grope around looking for my keys when there's a light on outside. I'm going to go out here under the streetlight and look for my keys. Nice. Why are you laughing? This makes a lot of sense. So you're out here groping around and looking for your keys. Your neighbor comes along and says, "What happened?" "Well, I dropped my keys." "Oh, I'll help you look for them." The two of you are now down here looking for your keys. Finally, he says to me, "Excuse me, but where did you drop your keys?" "Well, I dropped them in the house." He says, "You mean to tell me that you dropped your keys in the house and you're looking for them out here? The streetlight doesn't make any sense." And I said, "Make any sense?" And I said, "Well, it doesn't make any sense to grope around in the dark when there's light out here." "Yeah, I Now you laugh and think how silly that is. But isn't that exactly what we do when we have a problem, a difficulty, or a struggle that is located inside, and we're looking for the solution outside, someplace outside of ourselves? It would be like going to the doctor and telling him all of your symptoms. The doctor says, "Boy, you've got a lot of symptoms." He starts writing out prescriptions. You need a prescription for this symptom. You need a prescription for that symptom. Finally, he gives you 4 or 5 prescriptions, and you say, "Well, I'd like my prescriptions." He says, No, I'll give this one to your mother-in-law, and I'll give this one to your neighbor, and I'll give this one to your neighbor, and I'll give this one to your neighbor, and I'll give this one to your daughter, and I'll give this one to your father." Yeah, one trucks. I mean, you're the one with the struggles and difficulty. Expecting somebody else to change or something outside of you to get better in order for you to make your life work is a level of intention you have to really take a hard look at. It's in here. Everything in your life happens for a reason. Your responsibility is to look at these things in your life and ask this question. Why now? You need activation energy to start the change. To start to sit down, to start to get out of bed, to start to walk out the door. That's the key to creating any kind of change. This activation energy inside of you causes the initial goal. Then, what do we hear over time? Once you start, there's a chain reaction, and that allows you to keep going. If you only have 24 hours in a day, your success is dependent upon how you use those 24 hours. You have to hear me. People talk about Oprah Winfrey, Ted Turner, Warren Buffett. Listen to me. I don't care how much money you make. You only get 24 hours in a day. The difference between Oprah and the person who's broke is that Oprah uses her 24 hours wisely. That's it. Listen to me. It's that simple. You get 24 hours. I don't care if you grew up broke or rich, if you're in college or not. You only get 24 hours, and I blew up literally. If you could have what you needed and wanted, what would it be? What sort of friends would you have? What would your family relationships look like? How would you conduct yourself with your children? How would you educate yourself? You need to think through how your life could be properly arranged if you had that ability. Then you can aim at that. The funny thing is, if you set a goal of that sort and work towards it, you will move towards it. The goal will change because you'll learn things along the way, but I've dealt with hundreds of people in my clinical and consulting practice. We set a goal, develop a vision, and work towards it, and things inevitably get better for people. So it's not a luxury, it's a moral responsibility. It isn't about happiness. The pursuit isn't for happiness. There's always more room to grow, always more knowledge to gain, always more skills to perfect. We're never done with the education process because education is part of the path to wealth. Education and learning are part of the path to health. Continued education can turn you around if you're headed in the wrong direction. We need to open up our minds to different alternatives. We need to learn to appreciate the other side of the debate so that we can strengthen our own and defend our own. We need to expose ourselves to a wide range of thoughts, philosophies, and ideologies. Be eager to learn. Always be eager to learn, no matter how far along you are in the journey, no matter where you are in your success. Keep that eagerness to learn. Gather up as much knowledge as you can and debate it. Put it all on the table and look at it. Dissect it, turn it around, and stare at it. Ask questions, make statements. Make sure that what you finally do, the model you develop of strong appreciation for your own style, methods, and process for achievement is a product of your own conclusion. That's what's valuable. Be a student, not a follower. When I was growing up, everybody's goal was to get rich enough so you never have to work. Now, like all my friends who are 15, 8, or 10 years my senior, people like Steve Wynn in Las Vegas, who's 74, Warren Buffett, who's 85, Peter Gruber, one of my dearest friends in the world, who owns the Golden State Warriors, the LA Dodgers, and were partners in the Laugh C football team in LA. Brilliant guy. 74 years old, and they're all working harder now than they ever were, even though they don't have to work. The goal is to make enough money so you don't have to work. Then you'll do what you love and pour your time and energy into it. But you have to make that decision. That's the first most important decision. I'm going to become an owner of American business. You don't want to have an Apple phone and not own Apple. And you don't just own Apple because any company can go up and down. You want to own the index. You want to own a variety with enough diversification. But if you can just shift, I've taught people who told me they couldn't, that they had no money, they couldn't save. It's really easy once you get momentum. I run a company with hundreds and hundreds of team members, multiple profit centers within the company. Every one of those folks has a plan for the revenue they're going to produce this month, this quarter, and this year, and the expenses they're going to spend to do that in this month, this quarter, and this year. Therefore, we do annual projections. It's really not rocket science, it's sixth grade math. What are you going to do with your money? Don't get to the end of the month and wonder, where did it go? Because you end up being a rat in a wheel. You work your whole life, run, and get to the end of your life with nothing. You might have earned $4 to $10 million in your working lifetime, and you have nothing because you didn't write it down. It's a serious principle. You've got to get out of that and stay out of debt. Now, everybody knows Dave Ramsey's going to say. Everybody knows I'm going to say Proverbs 22:7. The borrower is slave to the lender. When you don't have any payments, you know what you've got, money. That was hard. Are we through yet? You getting this? It's not deep, but I wanna... Yeah, that's the problem. I want to need nothing, but I want a lot of stuff. There's nothing wrong with getting yourself some nice stuff, but the problem is when your stuff gets you. When you've got a student loan that's been around so long, you think it's a pet. When MasterCard is your master, when you've discovered bondage or American distress. You can't live without that. That's what my finance professor said too. He was broke. What's wrong with that picture? A broke finance professor? Broke finance professor is like a shop teacher with missing fingers. You have kind of a Dr. Phil moment with some of these people. How's that working for you? Yep. Wow. Because all these people are running around. These quote-unquote experts, and all of them that taught me. I was in the real estate business. We used OPMA, other people's money. We were taught leverage and all the sophisticated views of leverage, all this stuff. I can unpack it for you, and I can pencil whip you. I'm a math nerd. It's what I do. But at the end of the day, there's nowhere in Scripture where God used debt to bless his people. It's not in there one time. As a matter of fact, there's not even one positive thing said about it. It's not a salvation issue. It's not a sin. It's not any of those things biblically speaking. It's just stupid. Never once did God, were the Israelites hemmed into the valley by the Amalekites. So they did a bond issue. You need to know the word. Study the word because God will show you. He loves you. He's got a plan for you. The first one is you've got to do a budget. The second one is you've got to get out of debt because when you don't have any payments, you've got money. The third one is quality relationship. Now this is kind of weird, but think about it. Marriage is grand. Divorce is 50 grand. Dysfunction in the family costs you money. Straight up, crazy parents, drunk brothers. If you let them come into your boundaries and interfere in God's stewardship of your household, their dysfunction will cause you to be broke because you join in the dysfunction. And we all have it. Anybody who doesn't have crazy in their family just hasn't been awake lately. Everybody's got crazy somewhere in the family. Some of it's behind the closet door. Some of it's behind over the hill. Some of it's around the corner. It's you. You don't know where it is, but crazy is in your family. And I'm no exception. I'm from the hills of East Tennessee. When we do crazy, we do it big. So your dysfunction and your personal dysfunction, we sadly get to work with the effects of all the dysfunction because we do financial counseling and coaching. And so we've worked for 25 years now with addicts. I just have to tell you that if you're addicted to something, whatever it is, gambling, pornography, those are the two big ones right now. I mean, unbelievably huge. And certainly the old standbys, drugs and alcohol. The people that are addicted, 100% of them are eventually broke. And people who stay with them are all 100% eventually broke, till the addiction changes and Jesus yells it. That's an extreme example of quality relationship. What could you be? What could you be if you worked as hard as you could? What could you be if you imposed real discipline in your life? What could you be? What if I could? What if I could pull this off? What if I could pull off this miracle? What if I can become someone that no one thinks I can be? How will I feel at the very end if I can defy all the odds? Yanterly and cell talent here. You have to understand that there's a journey that takes place in your career and in your life. Every transformation always gets worse before it gets better. It's supposed to be that way. The journey you're embarking on is not an easy path. It's not for the faint-hearted or the weak-natured. It's for the strong people. Before you embark on this journey, mentally prepare yourself for it, knowing it's going to get worse before it gets better. Life tests the big dreamers, passionate revolutionaries. It's almost like a weeding out process. Only the strong and the best get to live their heart song. If it were easy to get to world class and extraordinary, everyone would be doing it. Every dream starts off small, but you need to start and move it forward each and every day. While everyone else laughs at you and criticizes you, paying no heed to them. Keep moving your dream forward because there's something magical about sticking to your dream longer than anyone around you thinks. You have a right to. You've got no choice. You can't go back. There are no options at this point. Do or die. We do not have time. We want to go get it. It's ours for the taking. You can do it and you're not leaving. Listen to me. We're not going home. We're not going anywhere until we get it done. We're doing what we've got to do to get what we've got to get. Go after that goal you want. Set up that project. Get going on those things you want to be. The best version of yourself that you possibly can be. Most people will never be like that. You don't want to fall into the trap that most people do. They get comfortable, they get relaxed, and they settle for a life they don't really want. When it's comfortable, it's easy. You don't want that. You want a life that is above average, extraordinary, far beyond what most people can conceive. If you want a life like that, you have to hustle. You have to get going, get up out of your seat, and move there. You need to take massive action. It's hard. It sucks. It can drain your mental and physical energy. But you need to get going and go after the things you want. No one's going to do it for you. Work on yourself every day. Get better. Improve. Learn. Extend yourself. Push yourself out of your comfort zone. Push the boundaries you're accustomed to. That's the only way to grow as a person. The reason why you haven't become successful, why you're not like a locomotive, why you're not having success in your life, is because every single day you have an excuse. I need you to do me a favor. I made my last excuse yesterday, my last reason. I came up with my last reason yesterday of why I can't do what I'm supposed to do. So I need you to do me a huge favor. All your excuses, all your good reasons, everything that's keeping you from doing what you're supposed to do, I need you to put it behind you and say, yesterday was the last day for that foolishness. Yesterday was the last day to say, I don't have enough money to do this. I don't have enough money to go to school. I don't have enough money to get a computer. I don't have what it takes. I'm not smart enough. I don't write well enough. I don't sing well enough. That's why I didn't do my seed. I didn't write my book because I'm not on that level. Listen to me. You better hear what I'm saying. Yesterday was the last day I want to hear this. It's over. Recognize that excuses are not valid. They're conjured up, they're fabricated, they're lies. And how do you stop the lies? You stop the lies with the truth. You have time. You have the skill. You have the support and the willpower and the discipline to get it done. What you pay attention to is what you will get. The more attention you give something, the more you feed it, the stronger and more powerful that thing grows. You need to face, master, and channel your obsessions into an engine of massive, energized momentum for the success you desire. You can be who you want to be. You can do what you want to do. See what you want to see. But it's all in your power and no one else's. Go out and get it. If you get knocked down, get back up again. You can never fail if you never give in. If you stick with it, stay with it, become obsessed with it, feed it every day, I guarantee you possibilities will take place. Do I just sit there and settle? No, I don't. I say enough's enough, and I'm going to make a change. I'm going to keep going until I get it. You chase something that you believe you deserve until you get it. It doesn't matter what happens to you. It doesn't matter how many times you get fired. It doesn't matter how many people don't believe in you. Just go until you get it. That's the point. Are you tired? Some of you need to get tired. You need to be tired of what's going on in your life. Get tired of your habits. Get tired of the actions you're putting in every day. You've got to change or nothing changes. I woke up one day and stopped making excuses. I woke up one day and stopped playing the blame game. I woke up one day and looked at the man in the mirror. It was like, yo, bro, what are you doing? Wake up. It's showtime. Let's go. Wanda Portsfield. Banain. Ain't sure why. Wah. How do you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10? In terms of your physical appearance, in terms of your health, do you take care of yourself? Are you allowing yourself to get overweight and out of shape? Are you conscious of your health? Are you watching the food you take into your body? Do you make a deliberate effort to exercise? I am. George Burns once said, "We cannot help getting older, but we don't have to get old." Many of us get old before our time because we don't take the time to take care of ourselves. Your environment is a very good indicator. On a scale of 1 to 10, is it what you want it to be? Do you find it desirable? Are you satisfied? What about your career? Someone said that 85% of the American public is unhappy with their job. Are you spending 8 hours a day just doing time? Doing something that you don't find challenging, that does not make you stretch mentally, does not stimulate or inspire you? If you're doing that day in and day out, it has to affect how you feel about yourself, your level of motivation, and your relationships. What kind of impact is it having on your life? Is it nourishing or toxic? Does it drain you or build you up? Ask yourself, does it drain you or build you up? Ask yourself, how motivated are you to do something about it? What stars? Your contribution, your actions, what are you giving? Many people will leave the universe without a trace. No one will know they were here. In fact, under their name, we could put not used up. Will anybody know that you came this way? What contribution are you making? What will be different because you came this way? Wise. For me, it's like no brain left behind. I've lived with that identity for so long. And my message to people, whether it's on stage or a podcast or anything, is that we are more than what we're demonstrating. We've been sold the lie that people are taught through school, that our intelligence, our potential, our learning, and our memory are fixed, like our shoe size. What we've discovered more about brain science in the past 2 decades is greater than what we knew in the previous 2,000 years. We are grossly underestimating our own capacity to grow, to contribute, to improve our intelligence, influence, and impact. I want to pull back the veil and just say, this is about transcending. This is about ending the trance that we're not good enough, that we're not smart enough, that we're not this genius. The truth is, we're faster and smarter than we think, not just to memorize things, but to solve significant. Maybe these challenges we're going through are the lessons we need to learn the most. We all go through struggles, whether in our health, relationships, or other areas. Through struggles come strengths. People don't talk about this as much. I probably have post-traumatic stress from going through a brain injury, but there's also post-traumatic growth, which isn't talked about widely. Some people go through immense trauma and difficulty, but come out more empowered. They say that because of going through this, they found a new strength, or superpowers, a new meaning in life, and a new level of commitment. Many attest they wouldn't trade that experience, no matter how painful it was at the time, for anything. It doesn't matter to me any longer how long I live. What matters to me most is how I live every day. Ask yourself that question, how are you living? 5. Ensure that you don't judge, that you show up early, that you are kind, and that if you're going to do something, you do it the right way. It's never wrong to do the right thing. How you do anything is how you do everything. In that way, you will grow your influence to make an impact and honor all those who have gone before you and invested in you. Look in the unlikeliest places for wisdom. Enhance your life every day by seeking that wisdom and asking yourself every night, how am I living? Then, as Friedrich Nietzsche said, many are stubborn and pursue the path they have chosen, but few pursue the goal. One of the things that really trips people up is the way of getting there, rather than the destination itself. Many people throw shade on having a destination, on building towards some big goal, or chasing a grand vision. However, as Einstein said, if you want to live a happy life, tie it to a goal, not to people or things. True desire in the heart, whatever it is you want to do, requires hard work. Don't just aspire to make a living, aspire to make a difference. That was my mindset. And that's how you get through things. Immerse yourself fully in your pursuits. Become that and give yourself no way out. The scariest thing in the world to me, even to this day, was the thought that this could have been the rest of my life. I thought then that I was trying hard. The scariest thing to absorb is letting life touch you without letting it kill you. The experiences you have, the good ones and the bad ones, the highs and the lows, are part of the gift you can give to others. If you remember them vividly, powerfully, freshly, and uniquely, you can truly affect others with your experience. Just because you weren't too lazy to live them and reflect on them. Live another week, reflect on it. Take a half day at the end of the month to review what were the numbers. Some weren't good, some were. The books you read, the books you heard about. Reflect on your experiences at the end of the month and year. Take a weekend or some time to reflect. How many times have you had a great idea, didn't act on it, and then a year later someone else did something about it? Made money, got a promotion, etc. When you have an idea or inspiration to act, it's time to act. It's time to act. You don't have to know everything perfectly. You can drive from here to California, assuming you're not in Hawaii, by going west. You don't have to see the whole route. You will only need to see 200 yards ahead of you at night. You can drive just with your headlights, and the headlights keep moving with you. Your goal in life is to get in the game. You don't have to see the whole blueprint, just the next steps, the next steps, the next steps, the next steps. If you keep taking the next steps, eventually you will get to where you want to go. Does that make sense? Getting. Now, the last thing is the law of attraction. We believe that when you are vibrating at the level of 100 expectancy, that you're going to get something is already a done deal. You know, piece of cake, no big deal. We're going to win this thing. Get that contract or make this happen. What happens is that the universe responds. Sometimes you're setting a vision with a deadline, like this should happen by this date. It's okay to set goals like that. But sometimes it takes a week longer, a year longer, or whatever. The law of attraction says if you just hold the expectancy, like tracking it. If you say, I want to be a millionaire but don't know anyone who can teach me how, or I want to buy a car but don't have any money, you're essentially calling up Domino's Pizza, asking for a pizza, and then calling back a minute later to cancel, and then calling back a minute later to cancel. You have to create the mental space to hold the vision and have the expectation that the perfect thing is on its way. In the Success Principles, I write about a woman named Catherine Lanigan. Catherine Lanigan went to college wanting to be a writer. She took her first writing class and got an F. She went to see the teacher and asked why she received an F. The teacher said it was because she couldn't write. Catherine explained she was on a scholarship to be a writer and had been the editor of her yearbook and school newspaper, and even had a play performed in high school. Teacher told her she would flunk the class and lose her scholarship if she stayed, but offered a deal. She promised never to write again, except for history papers. He'd give her a passing grade, and she could keep her scholarship and change her major. Catherine took the deal, which she later called making a deal with the devil. Why? 15 years later, in Texas, a movie was being made in a nearby town. Catherine, living in a place where people came to see the oil slick after it rained, decided to go. While everyone was talking to the movie stars, Catherine talked to the writers. She shared that she always wanted to be a writer, and the writer told her it was nonsense. If she wanted to be a writer, she would have written. Dad, I was told on good authority I couldn't write. It was a Harvard professor visiting our campus that year. He said, that's bees. What I want you to do is go write something and send it to me. I'll tell you if you can write. I do it for a living, I know. So she wrote a book, sent it to him, and he forwarded it to an agent in New York. They published it. Her next book was Romancing the Stone, and the book after that was Jewel of the Nile. Both were made into movies with Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner. So, what's the deal here? 14 or 15 years of her talent wasted. because she accepted someone else's evaluation of her. My friend Terry Cole Whitaker wrote a book called What You Think of Me Is None of My Business. Do not let other people's evaluations of you control you. It's just an opinion. Your response should be, thank you very much, and keep pursuing your passionate dream. Sacrifice. You get to pick your own sacrifice. That's all. You don't get to avoid making one. You're sacrificial whether you want to be or not. This is the Peter Pan story. Roughly speaking, Peter Pan is this magical boy. Pan means all or everything, in a way. It's not an accident that he has the name Pan. And he's the boy who won't grow up and is magical because children are magical. They can be anything. They're nothing but potential. Peter Pan doesn't want to give that up. Why? Well, he has some adults around him, but the main adult is Captain Hook. Who would want to grow up to be Captain Hook? First, you've got a hook. Second, you're a tyrant. And third, you're chased by the dragon of chaos with a clock in its stomach. The crocodile that has already had a taste of you. That's what happens when you get older. Time has already taken a piece of you and eventually will consume you. Hook is so traumatized by this that he can't help but be a tyrant. Peter Pan looks at the traumatized Hook and says, "No, I'm not sacrificing my childhood for that." That's fine, except he ends up king of the Lost Boys in Neverland. Neverland doesn't exist, and who wants to be king of the Lost Boys? He also sacrifices the possibility of a real relationship with a woman like Wendy, who is a conservative, middle-class London girl who wants to grow up, have kids, and live a full life. He accepts her mortality and maturity. Peter Pan has to content himself with Tinkerbell, who doesn't even exist. She's like the fairy of fantasy, not the real thing. The dichotomy here is tricky because there's a sacrificial element in maturation. You have to sacrifice the plural potentiality of childhood for the actuality of a defined frame. The question is, why would you do that? One reason is that it happens whether you do it or not. You can either choose your own limitations or let them take you by surprise when you're 30 or, even worse, 40. And that's not a happy day. I see people like this, and it seems more common in our culture because people can postpone maturity without immediate penalties. But the penalty accrues, and when it finally hits, it's severe. When you're 25, you can be an idiot, and it's not a problem. Even during a job search, it's okay to be inexperienced and clueless. People accept that. But when you're 30 and still the same clueless person you were at 22 is a problem. You're no longer a young, inexperienced individual. You're an old infant, and that's an ugly thing to be. The reason you choose your own sacrifice is that sacrifice is inevitable. But at least you get to choose it. There's also something more complex. The problem with being a child is that all you are is potential, which is a low-resolution state. You could be anything, but you're not anything. As you adopt an apprenticeship, you become something, and that makes the world open up to you again. For example, if you're a really good plumber, you might end up being more than just a plumber. You might become a good employer, train others, and become a pillar of the community. Once you pass through that narrow training period, which narrows, constricts, and develops you, you can come out with a bunch of new possibilities. And Carl Jung talked about this. He believed that the proper path of development in the latter half of life is to rediscover the child you left behind during your apprenticeship. So, you get to be something and regain that potential simultaneously. Very wise insight. Sacrifice. You get to pick your own sacrifice. That's all. You don't get to avoid making one. You're sacrificial whether you want to be or not. That's good to know.